It was a Tuesday night, just like any other. Families were settling in, lights flickering on in kitchen windows across a quiet Florida neighborhood. Somewhere, a phone buzzed with a dinner order. A DoorDash driver accepted it, picked up the food, and headed toward the delivery address. But that driver never completed the delivery. Instead, he logged out of the app mid-route, drove to a house he had never been to before, and committed a murder so brutal that seasoned detectives struggled to process the scene. The question that would haunt investigators for months wasn't just who did it. It was why. Why would a delivery driver with no criminal record suddenly abandon a bag of food in his car and take a life? The answer was hidden in a series of messages, a secret obsession, and a digital trail that led exactly to where he was going. This is the story of a murder disguised as a routine delivery. And the moment the mask came off, it started with a girl named Kayla. Kayla was a 2-3-year-old nursing student with a reputation for being almost annoyingly responsible. She was the kind of person who texted her mom after every shift, who never missed a rent payment, and who kept her circle small and trusted. She had recently moved into a little rental house with her boyfriend Jake, and the two of them were saving up for a wedding. The neighborhood was quiet, the kind of place where neighbors waved but mostly kept to themselves. On the night of the murder, Jake was working a late shift at a warehouse. Kayla was home alone, studying for an exam. She ordered dinner through DoorDash just before 8 o'clock, something simple from a Chinese restaurant about 15 minutes away. Her phone showed the driver's name was Marcus. His rating was solid, and the app estimated a 20-minute delivery window. Nothing about the order raised any red flags. It was just another weeknight. But at 8:12 p.m., the driver, whose real name was Ethan, pulled into the restaurant parking lot. He was 31 years old, had been driving for DoorDash for about 8 months, and by all outward appearances, lived an unremarkable life. He grabbed the order, placed it in a thermal bag on the passenger seat, and started the car. What he did next is what dismantled the illusion of random violence. Instead of driving toward Kayla's house, he opened another app, one that had nothing to do with food delivery. He was checking a location history, a pinned address he had been tracking for weeks. His phone data later showed he had visited that very street 4 times in the previous 10 days, always at night, always parking a few houses down, just watching. This time, he wasn't just watching. He shut off his DoorDash availability mid-trip, effectively erasing the delivery from the live system. Then he drove directly to Kayla's address, a house he should have had no prior connection to whatsoever. Inside the house, Kayla was completely unaware. She had earbuds in, a textbook open on the couch, and a cat curled up by her feet. The doorbell camera, which she had installed just 2 weeks earlier after a package went missing, captured everything that happened next. At 8:34 p.m., a figure in a dark hoodie and a DoorDash branded bag approached the front door. He rang the bell. Kayla checked her phone, saw a notification that her driver was arriving, and walked to the door without hesitation. She opened it with a smile, already reaching for the bag, already saying thank you. The interaction lasted maybe 4 seconds, but the moment the door closed, the driver didn't walk away. He stood there for a full 7 seconds, staring at the door, his breathing shallow and visible in the night air. Then he reached up and rang the bell again. When Kayla opened it a second time, confusion flickering across her face, he forced his way inside. The door slammed shut. The camera recorded no more visuals after that, but the audio told a horrifying story. There were screams, a struggle, a sharp crash, and then a chilling silence that stretched on for nearly 2 minutes before the front door creaked open again, and the man walked out alone, walking calmly back to his car, still carrying the now bloodied thermal bag. When Jake came home at 11, he found the front door slightly ajar. The living room looked like a hurricane had passed through it. He called Kayla's name 3 times, each one louder, each one more desperate. Then he saw her. He called 911, his voice cracking so badly the operator had to ask him to repeat the address 3 times. Patrol officers arrived within 4 minutes, but the neighborhood was already buzzing with the kind of dread that sinks into your bones. The doorbell footage was pulled within the hour, and detectives immediately recognized the thermal bag. They contacted DoorDash's corporate security team, who pulled the driver logs and identified Ethan within 30 minutes. When they went to his apartment, they found him sitting on his couch, still wearing the same hoodie, watching a movie as if nothing had happened. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He simply looked up and said, "I knew you'd come." What he said in the interrogation room is where this case fractures into something even darker. Detectives expected a motive rooted in robbery, or perhaps a random psychotic break. But when they searched his phone, they found a secret folder buried behind a calculator app. Inside were hundreds of screenshots of Kayla's social media profiles, going back nearly 2 years. Her Instagram, her Facebook, even her Venmo transactions. She had no idea he existed. Ethan had constructed an entire fantasy relationship with her inside his head, a world where she was leaving him signals in her captions, where her likes on other people's photos were secret messages meant for him. In his journal, which was found in the glove box of his car, he had written a single line the morning of the murder. It read, "If I can't have her tonight, no one can." But wait, there's a detail in this case that hasn't been widely reported, and it changes everything you think you know about how he found her. Kayla's address wasn't just randomly assigned to him that night. Ethan had been using the DoorDash system to hunt for her for months. He would camp outside busy restaurants, refreshing the app, hoping her order would come through. The night of the murder, he got lucky. He saw her name on the order and accepted it within 2 seconds, faster than any algorithm could reassign it. He wasn't just a random driver who snapped. He was a predator who had weaponized the gig economy itself to get to his victim. The thermal bag, the app, the rating system, all of it was used as a costume of normalcy. And what's most disturbing is that Kayla did everything right. She checked the app. She saw a legitimate driver. She opened the door. The system that was supposed to keep her safe was the very thing he exploited to get inside. Now, as this case heads toward trial, the central legal battle isn't about guilt, Ethan confessed in the first hour. The fight is over whether DoorDash bears any responsibility for failing to flag his obsessive search patterns, for not noticing a driver who repeatedly visited an address he was never assigned to deliver to. Kayla's family is pushing for a law that would require delivery apps to run behavioral audits on drivers, to look for stalking indicators. Critics say it's impossible, that the privacy and logistics don't allow it. But here's the question that should keep you up at night. How many other Ethans are out there right now driving around your neighborhood holding a thermal bag in one hand and a secret obsession in the other? If this case shook something in you, if it made you think twice about that innocent delivery notification, then drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done differently. And if you want to make sure you don't miss part 2, where we dig into the interrogation tapes and the specific loophole in DoorDash's policy that let this happen, then hit that subscribe button right now. I'll see you in the next one. Ethan's confession didn't take long. In fact, it took less than 12 minutes from the moment the interrogation room door clicked shut. He sat across from 2 detectives, his hands cuffed to a metal table, and he spoke in the same flat, unnervingly calm tone he had used when they arrested him. He didn't ask for a lawyer. He didn't pretend to be confused. He simply looked at the lead detective, a veteran named Ruiz who had worked homicide for 17 years, and said, "I want to tell you everything, but you're not going to believe how easy it was." That word easy would echo through the entire investigation, through the courtroom, through the media coverage that followed. Because what Ethan revealed in that room wasn't just a confession. It was an indictment of a system that had handed him the keys to his victim's front door without ever asking a single question. He started from the beginning, and the beginning was chillingly mundane. He first saw Kayla's photo on Instagram 2 years earlier. She popped up in his suggested friends. A friend of a friend of a friend, someone so tangentially connected that they were practically strangers. But to Ethan, she wasn't a stranger. She was the answer. In his mind, she became the solution to a loneliness so deep and so untreated that it had curdled into something predatory. He didn't just follow her. He studied her. He mapped her life. He knew when she graduated nursing school. He knew the name of her childhood dog. He knew her coffee order because she posted it once in a story 3 years before he ever laid eyes on her. And he remembered it. All of it. When she moved to Florida to live with Jake, Ethan saw the moving boxes in her stories and felt something snap. In his warped perception, she was leaving him. He started searching for her address. He tried public records, voter registration databases, property tax listings, But she was renting, and her name wasn't on the lease. That's when he discovered the gig economy loophole. He realized that food delivery apps didn't just bring meals to people's doors. They brought strangers. Strangers with access. Strangers with trust baked into the transaction. So he signed up to become a DoorDash driver. He passed the background check, which took less than a week, and flagged none of his digital stalking because there was no criminal record to find. He was, on paper, an ideal candidate. A clean slate. A loaded weapon in plain sight. For weeks, he drove around the general area where he suspected Kayla lived, picking up orders, delivering food, and watching. He would finish a delivery and then circle back to streets he had memorized from her photos, looking for the shade of paint on her front door, the shape of the tree in her front yard, the little garden gnome she had mentioned in a caption once. He found her house on a rainy Thursday night, 3 weeks before the murder. He had delivered a pizza to a neighbor 2 doors down, and as he walked back to his car, he saw her silhouette through the kitchen window. He stood there in the rain for 20 minutes, just staring, before a motion light flicked on and he forced himself to leave. That was the first time he drove to her house. By the night of the murder, he had been there 5 times. Detective Ruiz asked him why that night. Why October 12th? Ethan's answer was as simple as it was horrifying. Because she ordered. Because her name finally appeared on his screen. He had been refreshing the app for hours every evening, taking every order that came from restaurants near her zip code, hoping, waiting, obsessing. When her order hit the system, he accepted it so fast that the algorithm didn't even have time to offer it to another driver. He picked up her sesame chicken and fried rice like it was a sacred ritual. And then, when he logged off the app mid-delivery, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was severing the digital tether. No tracking. No proof he was ever supposed to be at her house. Just a ghost with a branded bag and a smile she trusted. But here is the twist that sent shockwaves through the courtroom and through the public consciousness. During discovery, the prosecution uncovered internal DoorDash documents that showed Ethan's driver account had triggered at least 2 automated flags in the months before the murder. One was for an unusual number of canceled deliveries clustered in the same small geographic area. Another was for logging off mid-delivery, which he had done twice before while apparently scouting Kayla's neighborhood. The system detected the anomalies, but no human ever reviewed them. The alerts sat in a queue, buried under thousands of other automated reports about cold food and late drop-offs. A vice president of trust and safety would later testify, under oath, that the company simply didn't have the infrastructure to investigate every flag manually. They relied on algorithms to decide what was dangerous. And the algorithm didn't see a pattern. It saw noise. Kayla's parents were in the courtroom that day. Her mother, a quiet woman with silver hair and trembling hands, had to be helped out when the VP said that. The idea that her daughter's death was, in the system's eyes, indistinguishable from a late delivery was a gut punch that rippled across every news outlet covering the trial. Legal experts began calling it the delivery loophole. The fact that independent contractors, classified as such by companies like DoorDash, exist in a gray zone of accountability. The company doesn't supervise them the way an employer would. They don't monitor their movements in real time. They don't cross-reference their routes against reported stalking incidents. They give them an address and a bag and send them into the night. The climax of the trial came when the prosecution played the full doorbell camera audio in open court. Not just the screams, but what came after, the silence. And then, faintly, so faintly the jury had to lean forward to hear it, Ethan's voice. He was whispering something, over and over. The audio forensic analyst cleaned it up, isolated it, and played it back. What he was saying, kneeling over Kayla's body in the dark, was, "Now you see me. Now you finally see me." The courtroom went completely still. One juror started crying. Ethan's own defense attorney looked away from his client for the first time all day. He was convicted, of course. First-degree murder with special circumstances. Life without the possibility of parole. But the verdict didn't close the wound. It just stopped the bleeding. Because the question that lingered, the one that reporters shouted at the district attorney on the courthouse steps, was this: what is stopping the next Ethan from doing the exact same thing tomorrow? The answer, as of this recording, is not much. There have been proposed bills in 3 states to require delivery companies to implement stalker detection algorithms and mandatory human review of suspicious patterns. But lobbying efforts from the gig economy giants have been fierce, and all 3 bills have stalled in committee. The companies argue that such measures would violate driver privacy and slow down delivery times. And so the loophole remains, open, waiting, unwatched. Here is the part of this story that sticks with me, the part I can't shake no matter how many cases I cover. Kayla had a doorbell camera. She checked the app. She saw a verified driver with a high rating. She did every single thing we tell women to do to stay safe. And it didn't matter, because the threat wasn't a stranger in the shadows. He was wearing the uniform of convenience. He was holding a receipt with her name on it. He was the person she was expecting. The horror isn't just what happened to Kayla. The horror is that the system that failed her is still in place right now as you watch this video, as you order your dinner, as you wait for a knock on your door. Think about that the next time you hear a knock. Think about who might be standing on the other side and how little you actually know about them. Think about Kayla. And if this story made you hold your phone a little tighter tonight, if it made you check your locks or rethink your delivery instructions, then share it. Share it with someone who orders food late at night. Share it with someone who lives alone. Because the only thing more dangerous than a predator is a predator we've been trained to welcome inside. I want to hear from you. Do you think delivery apps should be legally required to monitor driver behavior for stalking indicators? Or is that an invasion of privacy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, if you believe Kayla's name should not be forgotten, then hit that like button and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that these cases matter. It tells the world that we are paying attention. Until next time, stay aware, stay skeptical, and never let a logo blind you to the person behind it.